Hi, everyone. My name is Nate McGaha, and I am the Executive Director of Arts North Carolina. And this video is to walk you through our appropriation requests and our arts policy priorities for the 2025 North Carolina legislative session, particularly around Arts Day 2025. We're going to be having a great conference on April 22nd here in Raleigh. So, First of all, I want to make sure everyone is aware that in addition to all of the resources that we have on the Arts Day page at artsnc.org, we also have a mobile site. You can see that's artsnc.org/a mobile that also is really easy to access from your phone and has all of the materials, training for legislative visits, places where you can tell us about the appointment you're about to have, report on how your appointment went, all the resources you need for your meeting, etc. So please make sure you use that advocacy mobile site. Also, like I mentioned, there are lots of resources on the website. The legislative request leave behind that we'll be talking about here in a minute, nonprofit arts fact sheets, why the arts matter, so you can look at North Carolina versus national impact of the arts, and tons of other arts and arts education resources. We've also got some great short training videos on how to schedule meetings, how to have those meetings, as well as this video about our legislative requests. So, this document that we're going to review lists all of our legislative asks and appropriation requests for this season, and puts those requests into some context, gives you some information. Before your meetings, make sure you're emailing this document and also email it to legislators as a follow up afterwards. We will be providing printed copies on April 22nd in Raleigh, but you can certainly print this out in color or black and white and take it to the meetings that you're having. Or if you're having an online meeting, you can certainly share your screen as you review this information. Just remember that this is the data as well as our asks, but your stories are really what make the ask and make that conversation with your legislator important. So be sure to tell your personal experience as it relates to all of these things. And remember that funders, be they legislators or anything else, really want to support art that does good, not just art that is good. So the first thing we'll review is our ask to for the legislature to provide $10 million in support for the arts directly impacted by the devastation of Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina. And this is going to be through the North Carolina Arts Council, a strategic investment grants that are prioritizing those that were most impacted, a return on the investment as these grants go out, and overall community health. And you can see that there's 17,500 creative jobs across all of the impacted counties, as well as $1.2 billion in sales by the for-profit and nonprofit creative industries in those 26 counties. So massive industry in Western North Carolina that's just been devastated because of Helene. Also, nonprofits have been excluded a lot from the aid programs that have been made available to other small businesses in Western North Carolina. So it's really important that the state can allocate this specific funding for the nonprofit arts industry. Also, we know that prioritizing the arts was essential to recovery in both Puerto Rico and New Orleans as they came back from their major disasters. So it's also really great to heighten the awareness of the arts in any disaster, particularly what's going on in Western North Carolina. So please make sure you mention that in your meetings. Our first recurring ask is for legislators to close the $6 million funding gap for North Carolina Arts Council general grants. So that's specifically general grants, which is different than grassroots grants. Right now, there's $10 million in need. Arts organizations across the state, more than $10 million in applications. So in order to fully fund those programs, we need that $10 million. Current state funding, less than $4 million. So there's a $6 million gap there. This program, the General Grants Program, has not seen increased funding in 15 years. And these grants don't just go to a small number of counties, they reach 96 counties through arts organizations and artists. And also, all general grants are open to applicants in all 100 counties. So this is not targeted. This is open to all of North Carolina. It's really important that we see some growth here. I will say that this is a very tight budget year. So it is likely that we might not see an increase and that we may even see a decrease. But if your legislator says that there's budget problems and they're thinking that there could be a decrease, make sure that you state that you understand that, but make sure the arts are not unfairly impacted. We want to make sure that it's equitable and that the arts aren't cut by any more than any other organization across state government. So, not don't single out the arts. We're also asking for to keep recurring or to make recurring the $750,000 A plus schools allocation from the last 2 years. If they do that, up to 500,000 of that is going to be matched by a private foundation. Recurring funded is really needed to sustain this whole school arts integration model. There are over 60, nearly 70 schools across the state, and that number keeps growing. These schools are really amazing. They use arts integration to teach all subjects, and they've shown increased teacher retention, grade level proficiency, and school performance. So please make a statement for those A plus schools funding. Also, we want to make sure that all of the grassroots arts program funding is going to all 100 counties in the same way. Right now, 77 counties are excluded from about 40% of the current funds. So that's 2.5 million out of the total 6.3 that don't get allocated to all 100 counties because 7 of those counties are tier 3 counties with populations over 250,000. 5 counties have been excluded over the last 2 years, and now Johnson and Cabarrus have their population has grown. They're added to that list. They're losing $70,000 each this year. It could very well be that Forsyth and Guilford could be excluded soon because if the economic stress in Western North Carolina moves other counties into lower tiers, it might push Forsyth and Guilford into tier 3 status. This is funding that really should be reliable and that the arts can count on, not based on shifting factors like tier rankings and populations. Also, we are asking the legislature in our policy priorities to help stop fraudulent and misleading ticket practices. I know we've all gone to buy a ticket, and there's 6 sites that kind of look like the venue that you're trying to reach, but they're not the venue that you're trying to reach. And if you go to those sites, they're charging you a lot more money. We want to require those third-party ticket sellers to be transparent, identify themselves as resellers right at the top of their webpage, and no longer pretend through using logos or artwork or putting the name of the venue in their URL. Stop pretending to be the venue or the promoter or the authorized by the seller in any way. We want to ban speculative ticket sales, which is selling tickets that you actually don't own. We want them to ban the use of bots, which is computer programs that are set up just to circumvent the sales restrictions set up by the people who are promoting and selling the concert. And we want to make sure that because resale buyers can't even access refunds because they didn't purchase it. It was actually the second party purchased it. So, I mean, 81% of venues are reporting unauthorized ticket resale, and 61% of venues are reporting fraudulent tickets to events. So this is becoming a bigger problem, not just in North Carolina, but across the country. And lastly, we were asking the legislature to pass House Bill number 418. This will be the 3rd year that we've presented this piece of legislation, which is a performing and visual arts requirement for all K-5 public school students. Right now, 1 in 20 kindergarten through 5th grade students don't have access to both music and visual arts. We're asking that become a requirement. Standard-based arts instruction by a subject licensed educators for at least 30 minutes into a standard class size once every 5 instructional days. The reality is that back in 2018, when they were dealing with classroom size chaos, they allocated over $250 million that have been phased in specifically for what they called program enhancement teachers, which includes art teachers for elementary schools. But they left a loophole in there that allowed school districts not to spend the money on that. So we just really need this requirement so that local school districts have to live up to the promise that the General Assembly made. And make sure you talk about how the arts develop social skills and improve student outcomes, as well as real world impacts you can see in your communities at home. Also, make sure that you talk about the economic importance of the arts, particularly the nonprofit arts sector that had over 1.5 billion in spending, 1.18 billion in additional spending of the audiences going to performances over the cost of tickets, $439 million in tax revenue, local, state, and federal. And we know that those dollars that get spent over and above the cost of admission are so important. Local folks are averaging at about $34. Non-local folks are averaging double that. Out-of-state folks 3 times that. So make sure that you're telling your legislator about the vital impact of the arts economically. And lastly, and this isn't on the sheet, but just a kind of as a reminder, let your legislator know that North Carolina funds at about $1.11 per capita. South Carolina funds double that per capita. Mississippi, triple that per capita. Alabama is beating us per capita. And that regional average, we are below the regional average, and that is even with Florida being completely defunded, their entire arts program being defunded in 2025, and we are still below the regional average. So it really is, in order for us to keep competitive within our region as an industry, we need to make sure that we're making the same kind of investments. Once again, please remember to check out the advocacy mobile site, which has all of the information that you need. And I look forward to seeing you at Arts Day 25. Or if you're not able to join us at Raleigh, also, make sure to reach out to your county captains as listed on the Arts Day page, and get into some meetings and talk to your legislator. Thank you so much. Have a great day.